Good morning. Good morning. Yes, so I believe the volume is going to be up and ready, just where we require the volume to be, because I had challenges last time with my volume. So let me just put it at a level that is right and proper. So yes, what a blessed Monday morning. Good morning to you who's listening in. And I'm Rabia, and I'm just this month focused on our purpose monthly mentoring session. And this month, our focus with our mentoring session is our voiced advocating reaction. Amen. How do we approach the season mentally? And how do we mentally know that we are allowed to appear sufficiently, with knowing that our voiced reaction is really us required to speak up for ourselves, and to also therefore appear sufficiently with speaking things that are really good for us, and knowing what it is that we talk along with, that we agree with during the season. Because yes, everyone is focused on the challenge of this season, but we are required to mentally look after ourselves this season. And mentally, our obligation is to really focus on mentally handling and mentally staying strong during the season, because there's a much said concerning what is going on in different countries, and what is said is really sometimes putting us in a fear mode, and we really have to mentally stand strong and have to mentally listen to the conversations that's really keeping us up, and the conversations that's really good for us, the conversations that's not going to bring fear and anxiety and depression over us, but those conversations that would truly really help us to stand our ground this season. Because yes, there's a challenge in the season, but yes, we are required to look after ourselves mentally during the season. And in saying that, I believe that everyone is focused on the challenge of the season, but not much people are really focusing on those who has to listen into what is happening this season. So we are constantly on our televisions listening into what is happening, listening into, so it's almost like a fear tactic that grips you. But therefore, we have to mentally ensure that when we hear things on television, when we see things happening around us, we have to control our emotions. We have to control where we are at. We have to mentally step up, because if we bring fear and anxiety in, it really just makes us weaker. And in the season, we are required to be the stronger as with everything that we do. And therefore, we really require everyone to be on one page with that voiced advocating reaction of mentally handling the season, of mentally walking the season strong and continuing to walk it strong. So if you hear the challenge in the season, you mentally know how to deal with the challenge, because you educate yourself on how to deal with the mentalness concerning this. And when I speak about the mentalness, I saw that in New Zealand this last week, mentally someone was broken down and they had a reaction, and no one knew why the reaction was. And that's what happens when anxiety steps in, that's what happens when fear steps in, that's what happens when all of those emotions steps in. Then it does not allow for anything else. So therefore, we are allowed to really take control over ourselves, to really take control over where we are at in the season, and to really ensure that you look after your mental health this season. And sometimes no one worries about us mentally. The television programs, there's nothing on mental education concerning the challenge of the season. So everyone is only focused on the season, but no one worries about the emotions that people listening in, because people sit in front of the television, listen in onto all of the things that they speak about concerning the challenge of the season. But no one knows the reaction that what is spoken out, the reaction that is happening in someone else's body. No one worries why someone else gets anxiety, why fear kicks in someone else's body, because they tend to hear these things and immediately they hear someone close to them, and then fear steps in. And therefore, we are required to mentally know how to deal with this, how to really know that when you are in front of the television, or when you are reading something, don't allow the fear to take in, don't allow the tactic of fear, don't speak that fear over you, but really control your emotions, really control what it is that you say concerning yourself, so that you don't get into that fear mode. Because if you get into that fear mode, you would not know how to control you when you're not feeling well, or when something is not right around you. You would not know how to control and how to deal with what is going on around you, because you have not mentally taken care of you also during the season. So yes, there's much happening. We have empathy and care for everyone, and we are required to also care for ourselves and also look mentally after ourselves, so that this thing does not continue, but so that we deal with it at hand. Because if you do not deal with something, hi says Jenny and everyone, God bless. Because if you do not deal with something mentally, and you allow this thing to take control, and then you would be out of control, and something else would have control over you. And therefore, we don't want the season to have control over anyone else's lives. We want to have control over who we are, over where we are at, over our mental states. We want to do things. If you see that something concerning the season is making you depressed, if you feel anxiety because of Jesus, God bless, if you feel anxiety because of what someone else has said concerning this season, you are allowed to step away from those negative conversations and be around people that will really bring out the good character of you. Enjoy some fresh air outside. If you feel depressed in your house, or there's something in your house that makes you feel not right, and you sense you are sitting too much, then you get up and you walk out of your door and you go and sit outside sometime, because that is how we are going to mentally step up in the season. Thank you, Sister Zelda. God bless. And going to mentally walk this journey with making sure that if this stops, this is not going to have a mental effect on us also. That we deal with the mentalness concerning the season now. We deal with it while we are at the season, because we don't want things to go out of control when we are a month over from the season and the season is over, and then we handle with the mentalness. You deal with it at hand where we are at. And therefore, with the voice advocating reaction, it means you are required to appear better every day. And therefore, you speak. If you feel anxiety, you speak about how you feel with someone. You walk away from that feeling. You walk away from whatever it is in your house that makes you feel depressed, or that makes you feel anxiety, and you do something that would really brighten your atmosphere around you. If it is, you don't have to watch the TV all the time and read a book, and then you read a book. If you know that your body feels weak, then you know you are doing something that is not good for your body. Our body sometimes speaks to us in ways, and we sometimes don't listen, because we feel, oh no, I've been doing this thing all my years, and I've been on the social page all my years, so it can't be this that makes me feel so weak. Sometimes we just have to do a shift, and we just have to do things that is maybe going to make you feel better. Sometimes you don't know what it is. You just have to, if it's the television that you're watching too much during this time, if you are listening on too much about this conversations concerning this virus, walk away from people that cannot stop to talk about this. Walk away, because you would sense when someone is really talking to really speak to you about something, or when someone is over anxious about something, and then you are required to walk away from those anxiousness, because it will bring anxiousness over you. The same when we watch television. If someone over the television continues to speak fear over you, you would have to walk away from watching that program, because you would then receive that fear on you. And therefore, how we approach this season is we really step away from the fear that is brought unto us concerning this, because people speak, but when they speak, they say a lot of words. You only hear that they are saying a sentence, but you don't know the fear tactic that they bring over you when they continue to speak. All you sit there is you listen. All you do is you sit, you listen to all of these things, but your brain is really taking this in, and those words that people speak, your brain reacts on what people say concerning you. And therefore, mentally, we are required to control our mental health concerning this season. And therefore, if you know that someone is speaking on the television continuously concerning this virus, and you continuously feel broken down, you step away from that. You read a book that is uplifting. You do something in the atmosphere that is uplifting. You really do something that will brighten your day rather than sitting and listening into the negativity and the education concerning this thing. Because when people speak things unto you, they educate you, and your brain receives it, and your brain would then react, and then all of these emotions would step in, and therefore mentally you control where you are at. You don't continue to read things that are not good for you, but you step out of that mental fear and to control yourself emotionally. And that is how we approach the challenge in this season, and then also how you motivate yourself to stay strong during the season, because you're gonna hear a lot of things happening all over the world, but all of those things you have to keep control. You cannot go and sit in a corner because someone else has just said something concerning this. You need to be the stronger you in the season, and therefore you motivate yourself during the season by speaking things that are good for you. If someone else tells you about the season and about the challenge in the season, and you go and say the same words and you go and tell it to someone else, that means you are allowing that fear over you. So don't allow the fear, but motivate yourself out of the fear of this challenge that we have. Step out of the fear of this challenge that we have. Don't sit and take the challenge on and speak along, because when someone has spoken something unto you and you take it on and you speak it out, that means you have received what they have said concerning this, and then you also go and advocate this. And we don't want you to be in that fear mode. Therefore, control your emotions during this time. Control where you are at during this time by not speaking along. That means you do not receive it. You immediately change your attention from those people that are speaking this out continuously over this fear, and therefore you have control and you motivate positivity. You motivate goodness over you. You motivate prosperity over you. You don't motivate any negativity over you, and therefore you don't advocate any negativity. Advocating means you cheer up for something. It means you speak along with something. And therefore, I always say our advocating reaction is the reaction that we have, that we say yes to concerning something. And you don't say yes to any negativity concerning you this season. And therefore, you step out with mentally. Every day that you take on, you look after your mental health concerning this season, concerning you appearing this season sufficiently and completely healthy, and being you looking after your well-being and making sure that you advocate with representing that difference. So when someone has that conversation, you change the conversation. That is being the difference, being the advocating difference in this season. And then you don't agree with negativity that people speak over you. You immediately change your ear and you listen to something that is really going to build you up and that is really going to strengthen you in this season, because that is what you are required to do, to have that advocating reaction of a difference with everything that you do. And then also, so, to continue with the qualities of your voice advocating reaction, you are required to be strong, and that's the quality of that advocating reaction. Strong means you don't speak along, even if the conversation sounds how interesting. You don't speak along, you don't accept it on yourself. You shift yourself away from that conversation and you stay strong during the season. You allow yourself to protect you, because mentally, if you shift your mind from the negativeness of what they are saying, that is you protecting you this season. And mentally, you are required to have that quality of your advocating reaction, and that is you staying strong. You allow yourself to protect you, and you allow yourself to respect you. You allow yourself to better approach the challenge in this season, and to have that vantage of control over this challenge, so that this challenge does not have the control over you, but you represent with that qualityness, with that strength of you, of knowing that I am responsible to protect myself. When I see this, when I hear about this thing, I'm responsible to control where I'm at emotionally. I'm responsible to respect myself and to not just allow anything to have authority over me, but to better approach this season and what is happening around us this season. And therefore, our attitude in this season is to have that strong reaction approach amidst this challenge. So, yes, this challenge is there. We do not ignore the challenge. We have empathy for where we are at, but we would better know how to deal with it if we have control over our emotions. If someone is out of control, then they would make chaos all over the place and no one would know what to do. But if someone has control over their situation, they react in a way that no matter what the challenge of the situation is, they are there protecting and controlling themselves amidst the challenge, and therefore appearing mentally strong, looking after themselves mentally, and therefore the effect that the challenge will have on them is they would be the better difference during the season, and the season would not have the better over them, and therefore they would mentally know how to deal with everything concerning what they are required to do during the season, because we don't want anyone in places that they are not meant to be in the season, in places that they are out of control, in places that they don't know what is happening. If you feel depressed, if you feel anxiety, if you feel fear, get yourself around someone that is going to really give you that motivation to continue going. Listen to conversations that people speak, that continuous amen goodness over you. Don't listen to conversations that people are breaking you down, even on your cell phones, because we listen to a lot of things on a daily basis on our cell phones. But don't listen in on things that people are sending to you that is really advocating the fear concerning the season. But listen unto things that is going to speak that word of deliverance over you, because that is what we are required to do. So mentally, our control is important, to know that we have a challenge, but to know that the mental effect that the challenge is how I would react concerning how I see the challenge. Everyone really in this season focuses on the challenge, but no one is focusing on the mental stability, and therefore you are required to mentally look after yourself, because if you're gonna wait for someone else to mentally deal with the situation, then you're gonna wait forever. Because if you have a challenge and you wait for people to come and help you out of the challenge, you wait forever. Sometimes you are mentally just required to step up and step out and do something that is uplifting for you. Amen. You don't allow the challenge to have control over you. You don't allow any negativity over you concerning the challenge. You control your mindset, and you don't allow the wickedness of fear to be over you, but you stand strong with what you do concerning where you are during the season. You know, we don't ignore the challenge, but we also don't ignore the strength that God has invested within us amidst the challenge. So remember these words. It's not that you disregard what is happening, but you don't disregard your strength required amidst this season. And therefore, you would only strengthen if you do things that would build your character up, that would allow you to be stronger, that would allow you to appear stronger, because then you would think with that consciousness concerning what is happening, because then you would mentally be there with what is happening over the season, and therefore the challenge would not have the better concerning you. Know why it is important to mentally control your emotions and reactions, because if you do not mentally look after yourself during the season and look after your mental health during the season, then someone else will take control of you mentally. Then the fear tactic of all of these words concerning this season will take control, and therefore mentally it is your obligation to step out of the fear tactic of the challenge and to really approach the challenge with the stronger you. It is your mental obligation this season to concentrate and focus on you. When you see and when you hear concerning this season, you stand strong and you stand your ground with knowing who you are, with protecting you with every reaction that you do. You control your emotions and you control your reactions, and your approach would therefore be a better approach. So you control your emotions, you control what it is that you hear, and you control your reactions, how you would react, and therefore you would approach it in a better, sufficient, complete way. And that is just some guidance today on the mental stability that you are required during this season to stand strong and to look after yourself, and therefore you would know how to nurture someone else and how to take care of someone else in your community. Let us therefore have that voiced advocating reaction of a difference, and we continue on our YouTube pages during this week with mental stability. And I therefore want to really focus on what it is that you are required to do, other than knowing you step away from the negativity, you step away from the television that continuously speaks this over you, you step away from the conversation where someone is continuously speaking negativity over you, and you read conversations that builds you up, that brings that goodness required this season on you. And therefore approach the season better with mentally looking after yourself. God bless you. May you have a blessed Monday. God bless you. Sure, it's okay.